Hey everybody, this is the first video I'm gonna do on this 2015 Camaro Z28 that I picked up. Um, just got it about a week ago. I was on a trip to California and Arizona and went there to go ride UTVs in Glamis, California with my daughter and her boyfriend. And on my way back, I happened across, I was just driving down like the highway in small Texas town, Brownfield, and saw the Z28 sitting out on the lot. And so I made the call, went ahead, came to Lubbock, dropped off my trailer, and then I went back and made a deal and bought this car. I thought they were asking maybe a little under what its value should be. And so I just couldn't turn it down. It's not perfect. It could be a little cleaner. The previous owner has a few aftermarket parts on it, like these things. Canards, I think is what they're called. They're kind of like front spoilers. I'm gonna take those off, and I'm gonna be looking to get rid of them or just to sell them or swap them for somebody that has factory, like this piece that obviously has some screw holes in it now. But I'm gonna get rid of that. Get rid of this. It has a soft tow hook on it. So I want to get that little piece that goes in the bumper, the factory piece that goes right there, to fill that hole, because it's just a open hole and otherwise. But so a little bit about the Z28. The Z28 badge goes back to several generations in the Camaro. I'm not 100% sure. I know they did it in the second gen Camaros. I know they did it in the third gen and the fourth gen. So the fifth gen has a Z28. They have not come out with a sixth gen Z28. Currently, the track model is the 1LE for the sixth gen. But anyways, the fifth gen Camaro I love. I thought it was great. It was the revision of the Camaro, or was the resurrection of the Camaro, because they discontinued it in like 2002 or 2003 with the end of the fourth generation. So when the fifth gen came out in 2010, it had been a while, and that's when they introduced this retro styling, which is kind of a throwback to earlier models. And it's a cool body lines, real slick, and really modernized the car. It was the first Camaro with independent rear suspension and things like that. But and it also had LS. They still had LS motors when they introduced the fifth gen Camaro in 2010. So I had a 2010 2SS that I bought, or I actually got it in a trade deal. Didn't have it very long. It was black on black, 6-speed with leather. I don't think it was leather. Maybe it was. I can't remember. It was a 2SS. So it's kind of a loaded Camaro. But that's in stark contrast to this one, because the Z28 was kind of the send-off for the fifth gen Camaro. The fifth gen went from 2010 to 2015. And like most Camaros, they do a mid-cycle refresh. Well, GM does that for pretty much every model they make, is a mid-cycle refresh. So the 2010, 11, and 12 models were the same. The 13 models also. And then so 14 and 15, they revised the front end and the rear end. So they changed the headlights and the tail lights. And it seems to be a trend where Camaro or GM, Chevrolet, really kind of messes up the cars. So the fifth gen Camaro is really no different. Maybe it's just opinion. It's subject to everybody's, what their preference is. But I thought the tail lights and the headlights looked better on the 2010 to 13 models. And so the 14 and 15 models, it just don't look as neat in my opinion. But the Z28 did get the new front end and the new rear end updates. And so this is just the way it looks. There is no variation. It's a pretty limited model. The Z28 was only made in 2014 and 15, and it was very low production numbers. I think there's less than 2,000 of them total between both model years. So, and there's only a few colors made: black, white, red. And I think there's two different shades of gray, like a silver and then like a gunmetal gray, which you don't see very much of. I've only seen a few of these ever, and they've all been white. You don't see them very often, but love the wheels. The wheels are the same on all of them. Kind of a, it's a blacked out, really sporty pattern. The Z28 package is very stripped down. There is no creature features. In fact, the only options on the Z28 are air conditioning, a radio, and like floor mats and a back seat. So this particular model has all of those options, but it's still very stripped down. There's no creature features, and I'm doing this review, and I bought this vehicle in 2022, so it feels like a dinosaur, even though it's a 2015 model, which isn't old. It is just stripped down. Like Bluetooth, for your iPhone is even a luxury at this point. There's no screens on the inside. There's no there's power. There's not power seats. It is very stripped down. So that 2010 SS that I had a gauge cluster down here. It had 4 gauges for other things, like like your coolant temperature or your I think there was a voltage meter down there. There's a few other little gauge pod, and the Z28 doesn't even have that, which is something normally performance oriented would have informational gauges, but this doesn't even have that. It has a big tach and a big speedometer, and of course a gauge for your fuel, and it does have a temperature display down there, but it's very stripped down, and it feels like a dinosaur compared to other vehicles that are available in 2022. But they did that. They stripped down the Z28 on purpose because they were trying to minimize weight. This car was designed strictly for track purpose, and has absolutely massive tires, has massive brakes, and I'll be doing lots of comparisons whenever I get some time on both my Z28, the 2015 Z28, and I'll be comparing it to the 2019 ZL1 1LE that I have. So these two vehicles are the most track-focused Camaros ever built. They are designed to go really fast and turn corners really well, which is something that muscle cars don't necessarily have a reputation for doing. So one of the keys there is traction. So the Z28 and that 1LE have absolutely massive tires, huge tires. I think the Z28, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if these are factory tires or not. I think the Z28 has the same size tires in the front that it does in the back, which is ridiculous for a muscle car, because the tires are big and these front tires are just huge. So this front splitter is factory. It sticks out a lot. I mean, it looks like a tabletop. I mean, it looks like a shelf sticking out from the factory. Disregard this little canard, that aftermarket piece. I'm going to take it off. But these are carbon ceramic brakes. These are brakes that are not available on any other Camaro, and including the 6th gen ZL1s and 1LEs. They don't even have carbon ceramic brakes. So the fact that these brakes are on this Z28 is kind of a one-off thing for Camaro, I think, ever. They might have put them on some of the older cars, but I don't think so. Carbon ceramic is kind of a new thing. It's high maintenance. They're not really daily drivable. They make a lot of brake dust. They squeak. They're noisy, and that's just the way the brakes are. It's because that rotor is so abrasive. You can tell just by looking at it that the texture that's on it, that's the way it's supposed to be. It is a rough texture. It's kind of like, they don't want it smooth like a normal disc brake. So carbon ceramic brakes are not even available on the new top of the line Camaros. So whenever this car came out, it was very expensive for a muscle car, and for Camaro, of course. I think it was the most expensive Camaro ever. They were $75,000. And even the ZL1 for the 5th gen, which was supercharged, it had more power, but it was heavier. It wasn't as track focused, and it had all the creature features. You could get heated seats and blah, 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 all the stuff in a ZL1 for the 5th gen. It was even less expensive than this. I think they were maybe in the 60s, $60,000 range, 65 maybe, I don't know. But the fact that this Camaro has none of that, it is just as stripped down as possible, and was still $75,000, is a testament to really the hard parts that are on it. Carbon ceramic brakes were absolutely a big part of that price tag. And I haven't mentioned yet, the reason this car is such a big deal is the legendary LS7. This thing is the only Camaro that's ever received an LS7. An LS7 is a 427 cubic inch, also a 7-liter displacement, naturally aspirated V8 that was previously only available in the Corvette Z06 from the, that would be the C6 Corvettes. They later put it in the limited edition Corvette 427, which was like a limited model of the C6 Corvettes, and available in a convertible for the first time ever for this motor. So this motor is awesome. It's legendary. Everybody that knows anything about American muscle is well aware of the LS7. It's all aluminum. It is a true LS, and it is it's the largest displacement of all the LSs. It's a 7.0, which is a lot. You know, especially for a small block V8, you know, 7 liters is big. 427 is big. This is the factory intake. I thought that was an aftermarket intake the first time I saw it, but it is a factory cold air intake with an open air filter that is, I think it's washable and reusable. I'm not sure. I already kind of knocked some dust out of it once I got it. And I believe this car is missing a piece that goes here. That isn't normally wide open. That carbon fiber insert is factory on the hood insert like that. But there is another piece that goes under it that that I believe keeps at least, you know, like rain dropping straight onto the motor. So I'm gonna try to find that piece and put it back on. But this factory strut, or this strut tower brace is factory. Really stiffens up the chassis. This was the debut of the flow tie. So anybody that's heard anything about performance Camaros is well aware that the Chevy flow tie was a really big deal when it came out. Everybody wanted to add this, but GM would not sell this one part separately. So you couldn't put the flow tie on your other Camaros like an SS or something from the same generation. I think that's changed now, but initially when they released it, I read like a whole article from Car and Driver about the flow tie. Long story short, all it is it's a Chevy bow tie emblem that does not have a middle on it, so it's just open. They did that to maximize airflow onto the engine and the radiator, whatever other coolers. I'm sure there's a transmission cooler, things like that in there. I love the retro badge. I think it's really cool that they have the Z with the slash and the 28. This wicker bill was an option from GM. So this spoiler is standard on all Z28s, and it's the only, that spoiler is exclusive to the Z28. That was not available on SS's or Z01s. But this wicker bill, this little attachment that's adjustable, was a GM option. I think it was like an accessory. It's from General Motors, from Chevrolet, but it was an accessory where it's adjustable. You can change the bolt holes to give yourself more or less downforce depending on your track or your circumstances that you wanted. It sounds incredible. It's raw for a factory car. Like you swear this thing is an aftermarket car. You would think that exhaust is aftermarket, and you would think that intake is aftermarket, but it's not. Also, the Z28 doesn't even have any liners in the trunk at all. There is no spare tire. I'm surprised it actually has this mat, but I believe that is an option. And I already opened this up back here. I'll do it real quick for you. They put the battery in the trunk, which is, you know, no real secret why they do it. It's obviously for for weight distribution. You get more weight on the rear tires. And muscle cars are generally weight biased in the front because they got big V8s in the front of the engine. But again, pretty stripped down. It's not as clean as I would like. There's a couple little things like this. You know, I might kind of try to replace that piece. I don't know how it's only a 2015, so it's not like it's real old. So I'm expecting to be able to order some of these parts just, you know, from factory, but parts are always a problem sometimes, especially on specialty vehicles that were done in low runs. That's it. Just kind of an intro video for the Z28. I'm going to do lots of content. I plan to do comparison videos between this Z28 and that ZL1 1LE, and we'll see where it goes. I'm just super excited to have both of these Camaros and be able to have fun with them and to share my thoughts with you on YouTube and social media. Like and subscribe if you want more content regarding muscle cars or Camaros specifically, and then check my channel for other playlists with other vehicles that I work on and do writing and reviews on. So that's it. Thanks. Bye.